Hello everyone, welcome to today's show. My name is Spencer Walsh. We got a great one for you today as we are back here on this Monday on Columbus Day, a little bit later, but that is alright. Here's what we got. The Senate has confirmed Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court, pretty much ignoring everything women have literally been screaming at them for the past few weeks. Democrats failed us on this vote. We'll tell you why. We'll have a big FU session to Susan Collins and Joe Manchin. Christine Blasey Ford still cannot go back to her house due to seemingly unending death threats, according to reports. We have a decade to prevent a total climate disaster, and the Silicon Valley loving Saudi prince is possibly could have murdered a U.S. journalist. That's apparently what we got right now. It's a great world. Everyone's very happy, and we're all very nice. And yeah, hopefully now that Newsflash is back, we may will settle down a little bit. You may have been wondering where I was. But the thing was, I pretty much lost my voice for the weekend, and it was not worth it to do a show because I was like, croaking, pretty much. I don't even want to jinx it now because it was not fun. Alright, so yeah, in a 50-48 vote, mostly along party lines on Saturday, the U.S. Senate confirmed accused sexual predator and right-wing operative, that's a key word there, right-wing operative, Brett Kavanaugh to a lifetime Supreme Court appointment. Because, boy, is he political, and, it's really, at this point, it's not worth hiding very much anymore, because it's just the truth. He's a political guy, he's a political operative, and there's really no point in, let's be honest here. We know what we know about the guy, and I think it's all worth us kind of being real at this point. So, yeah. The polemic vote capped a weeks-long contentious nomination process in which credible allegations that Kavanaugh sexually assaulted multiple women while in high school and college were ignored by Republican senators. Kavanaugh attacked Democratic senators during the process and revealed a really partisan temperament during Senate hearings, and also appears to repeatedly lie through the process. Yet he's still confirmed, and a Democrat voted for him. And we'll get to him. Trust me, we will get to him later in the show. I mean, you really do want to stay in for the show, but just to find out, really what's going on in the world, because every single story we have here is hugely, hugely, hugely important, and it's a much bigger deal. Yeah, this is what we got today. Also, so as VP Mike Pence initiated the voting process, protests erupt through the Senate gallery. Pence called for order, and the voting proceeded, but it was frequently interrupted by additional protests. And more often than not, it was there was protests for Joe Manchin. Pretty much as they were doing this deed, they were literally, their own constituents were coming in to the place that they worked and literally just screaming at them. And it was just an awful situation for them as they kind of let all their hard work disintegrate. Watched all their hard work kind of just disintegrate in front of them. It was really some pretty awful stuff. So here you get some of the idea. This is as the vote was going on this past Saturday. Yeah, so this is pretty crazy.
Is there a sufficient second? Sergeant at Arms will restore order in the gallery. Is there a sufficient second? There is a sufficient second.
Yeah, that's just so you get the idea of what was going on as this vote was proceeding. It was some pretty incredible stuff. So the vote followed dozens of hours of speeches by Democrats and Republicans on the Senate floor, ending on Saturday afternoon. Kavanaugh's nomination, however, was sealed on Friday with the announcements of support from Jeff Flake and Susan Collins. That pretty much sold the deal, who had previously been considered holdouts, and yeah, that's pretty much how it turned out, as we know. So as expected, a Democrat from West Virginia, Joe Manchin, also voted yes. Senator Lisa Murkowski from Alaska voted present, and also because Senator Steve Daines from Montana was attending his daughter's wedding at the time of the vote. So pretty much what we want to know is Lisa Murkowski was the only Republican with somewhat of a spine here, and he was and she voted present. Although, excuse me, if Steve Daines was here, she would have voted no, but she did kind of find a little bit of a cutesy workaround there to kind of say that she voted present. But like, I don't really think that's gonna help her in the end. Like, she's still gonna face the consequences. Although where she's from, there really aren't going to be too many for voting no, which is pretty good. It's like her constituents were actually giving her flowers as she returned to Alaska for voting no on Kavanaugh, which is pretty cool. But then Susan Collins made it clear she would vote to confirm Kavanaugh in a lengthy speech on Friday, which demonstrated that prior claims that she had been undecided were likely disingenuous. Instead of questioning Kavanaugh's fitness to serve on the nation's highest court and erring on the side of caution, Collins praised his judicial record, pretty much went through the entire situation, and it really sounded like she had her mind made up from the very beginning. With some of what she said, she was like, I was disturbed by the number of outside donations on the just before they started to before he even testified. Like, there was so many outside donations, and Democratic senators said no, they would not support him, even though they hadn't heard him testify. Like, so pretty much she was against. She was for Kavanaugh from the beginning. She just kind of wanted to make some drama in the air, which is a little bit disturbing there. Senator said she had found the testimony of Kavanaugh accuser Christine Blasey Ford to be sincere, painful, and compelling. But she couldn't be sure Kavanaugh was the one who attacked Ford at a party in 1980 when the two were in high school, which was really quite incredible. It is some really, really incredible stuff that she actually had the gall to come out there in her speech and say, I believe Christine Blasey Ford, but it wasn't Kavanaugh who attacked her. Like, she's just a silly little girl who got things mixed up. Like, if you believe Christine Blasey Ford, you believe that it was Brett Kavanaugh, because that's what she said. If you don't think it was Brett Kavanaugh, say, I don't believe Christine Blasey Ford. Just make it clear and stop hiding around stupid language. It is some incredibly vomiting. It just want to make you vomit. Some of what was going on today. So Republicans implemented the same strategy to undermine the allegations. There is a no corroboration. She was just a confused little girl strategy on Deborah Ramirez, who said the judge exposed himself to her at a college dorm party. In a statement on Saturday, Ramirez said, 35 years ago, the other students in the room chose to look and laugh at the way laugh and look the other way as sexual violence was perpetrated on me by Brett Kavanaugh. As I watched many of the senators speak and vote on the floor, I feel like I'm right back at Yale when half the room is laughing and looking the other way. Only this time, instead of drunk college kids, it's United States senators who are deliberately ignoring his behavior. She also said, this is how victims are isolated and silenced. And you want to change this? You do not want to see this happening? Well, there's only one way to do it, and that's to vote in November. Go out there, vote. Don't get complacent. There's not going to be a blue wave coming if you don't vote blue. Like, there's not going to be a blue wave coming that way. You can't just will it into existence. The Republicans are going to be out there. They're going to be voting. They're going to be registering to vote because they always vote. And still, like 28% of young people say, we're not sure. They're not sure if they're going to vote. 28% say they are sure they're going to vote. Like, that's very disturbing. Everyone should be out there voting. Everyone should vote. It's very important. Like, we have the only way, unless we want an armed rebellion of the Capitol, which, I mean, I don't want. Like, the only way to possibly get back some change, and the gerrymandering, and the voter ID laws, and all the stuff. Like, we have a decade to. We're going to get to this later. We have a decade to prevent a very severe climate crisis, and the only way we're going to be able to do it is if we vote. And the only way we're going to be, just grasp back a little power, and then maybe we can get more power, we can change it, we can make things better, is if we got out there and vote. It's going to be so important. So, yeah. Yeah, and of course, another big thing about this situation was the FBI investigation. Was that they was very limited, and that was something that really was very interesting to see. Was kind of a trick almost for senators. Like, the Democrats wanted it, but it was a fig leaf for senators to get to yes, and Susan Collins got to yes. She said there's no corroborating witnesses. Well, Christine Ford's friend Keith Kogler was there to corroborate it. What he said was he was not permitted to testify nor interviewed by the FBI via according to Shannon Bream. yeah, so yeah, she can come out there and corroborate it. Also, the American Bar Association announced that it would choose to reopen its evaluation of Kavanaugh due to the judge's temperament during September 27th hearing before the Judiciary Committee. Also, we know that John Paul Stevens, former Supreme Court judge, says, I mean, I love Kavanaugh's positions on everything. This dude's a right-winger. And he actually came out and said, this guy's too crazy to be on the court. Like, that's what's going on right now. So yeah, Kavanaugh's nomination has now become a rallying cry for both Democrats and Republicans to get out the vote efforts on November 6th. So that's going to be very interesting. Justice Kavanaugh, out to ruin our lives forever. So that'll be a lot of fun. Yeah, so let's be clear. Republicans are blamed for the fact that Brett Kavanaugh is about to be the next Justice of the Supreme Court. But that does not mean the Democrats get off the hook here. And we here at Newsflash are equal opportunity criticizers. So, yeah. Kavanaugh, as we know, he's been accused of sexual assault by a string of women. The evidence of his excessive drinking, his temper, his elitism, his snobbery, and sheer personal repulsiveness grows every day. He's also displayed most of these tendencies really on television in front of the whole entire nation and world, really. He also has demonstrably, repeatedly lied. And yeah, he's an extremist, obviously partisan person who's going to pull the Supreme Court way to the right for decades. So there's a lot to really work with to make a strong case against him. Instead, and this is pretty much where the Democrats really messed up, it all comes down to this FBI investigation that they wanted to do. It's in really, the FBI, we all know it has some problems. It's a pretty awful organization, which the Democrats have no control over. They could have gone right after Kavanaugh during the hearing. They could have questioned him over and over again about his drinking. They could have questioned him about the many allegations against him, the many dubious characters swirling around him. They didn't even coordinate. This is amazing to me. This was probably one of the biggest hearings this century that we're going to the Senate Judiciary Committee. It's a huge, historical hearing. Like, it's going to be down in the history books. And you think the Democrats may go over what they want to say. But nope. The Republicans went over it. The Democrats, well, we'll just wing it. We'll see what happens here. We don't know. It could be good. It could be bad. Like, they didn't coordinate on nothing. On probably one of the biggest hearings, one of the biggest deals of all time. Which is incredible. So it's widely reported the White House deliberately narrowed the scope of the FBI investigation, presumably, obviously, to benefit Kavanaugh. The White House has said the Senate set the terms of the probe. The Democrats made appropriately stern noises about how bad all this was when the FBI's investigation was shown to them, but it raised a very obvious question. Shouldn't they have known this is how things go before they blew all their political capital and getting the FBI involved? Like, they knew this was going to happen. They should have planned like 3 steps ahead. There's the FBI investigation. That was pretty much probably one of the most used words in the hearing. It was FBI investigation. FBI investigation this, FBI investigation that. But they still agreed to probably one of the weakest FBI investigations ever. It was all-encompassing. And it was just ridiculous what they were able to do. And I mean, they also wasted a huge opportunity to question him well at the hearing. Democrats, they're deeply opposed to all the things Republicans are trying to do. The stakes are sky high. They, as usual, let everyone down. And that's pretty much how it works. It was always going to be incredibly difficult to block Kavanaugh. But the Democrats barely even tried. They put in no effort. By some miracle, Kavanaugh loses. Obviously, we know he didn't lose the confirmation, but this was pre-reported here. It will be because of the huge numbers of ordinary people who mobilized to fight it. It was the ordinary people coming out in huge numbers, protesting, not paid protesters, but actual people who camped out in the Senate office buildings. People like Indivisible, people like, I don't know who else was there, but just like the Women's March people, I think, were there. Whoever was there, they were the people that got to the senators. They were the people who actually worked for them. Like, they were the people who chased them down. The people who screamed at them in the elevators. The people who followed them home, who talked to them at airports, begging them to change. And that's what they should be doing, because they represent the people.